Felipe and Claudette by Mark Teague. On adoption day, all pets at the animal shelter lined up for inspection. "It is time," said Mrs. Barrett, the director, "for us to look our best." Then, one by one, they were adopted until only 2 pets remained, Felipe and Claudette.
It's a cat.
"What will I do with you?" fretted Mrs. Barrett. Usually her pets were adopted quickly, but not these 2. They had been at the shelter for ages. The problem, in Felipe's opinion, was Claudette. "You will never be adopted," he told the dog, "because you are constantly barking." "What?" Claudette barked. "What? What? What?" To be fair, Claudette did not always bark. Sometimes she tore the stuffing from her toys. Sometimes she ran in circles. Sometimes she bounced against the walls.
Yeah.
She drove Felipe crazy. "Please," he said, "I am trying to think." He was trying to think about his future home. Perhaps it would be a beautiful country estate where he might lounge beside a pool, or maybe a penthouse apartment where he would eat sardines from a dainty bowl. Claudette belched, and the dream faded. "No," said Felipe, when she brought him her ball. "I will not throw your little ball. It is covered in spittle. Anyway, cats do not throw."
Yeah.
More puppies came to the shelter, then more kittens. Soon it was adoption day again. "Time to look our best," cried Mrs. Barrett. They did, and they were all adopted. All except Felipe and Claudette. "What will I do with you 2?" worried Mrs. Barrett. Felipe thought she would worry about Claudette. "You will never be adopted," he told the dog, "because you snore when you are wide awake." "Snork," snored Claudette. "Snork, snork, snork." To be fair, Claudette did not always snore. Sometimes she dug holes in the yard. Sometimes she chased moths. Sometimes she rolled in the garbage. Oh no. She drove Felipe mad. It would be difficult for either of them to be adopted when Claudette made such a poor impression. She brought him a toy. "No, I will not play tug of war," said Felipe. "Cats do not tug." More kittens came to the shelter, then more puppies. Adoption day arrived again. Felipe groomed his fur and straightened his whiskers. Claudette wagged her tail. One by one, the pets were adopted, all except Felipe and Claudette. "Dear, dear," said Mrs. Barrett, "what will I do with you 2?" It was clear to Felipe that Claudette was the problem. "You will never be adopted," he said, "as long as you have dried dog food stuck to your nose." "Slurp," said Claudette, licking her nose. "Slurp, slurp, slurp." To be fair, Claudette did not always have dried dog food stuck to her nose. Sometimes she had branches stuck to her collar.
What's this?
That's her big tongue licking her nose. Sometimes she had leaves stuck to her paws. Sometimes her whole body was covered with mud. Oh no, William, look. She's all covered in mud. She drove Felipe insane. What could he do with a dog like her? She wagged her tail hopefully. "No, I will not play hide and seek," said Felipe. "I do not wish to be it. Anyway, it is perfectly obvious where you are hiding. Another adoption day came and went. So did the puppies. So did the kittens. As usual, only Felipe and Claudette remained. Mrs. Barrett was closing the shelter when a gentleman arrived. "I wish to adopt a pet," he said. Felipe sat up straight. "We only have the two," said Mrs. Barrett. "Felipe is quiet, but a bit grumpy." "And the dog?" asked the man. "Claudette barks and chews and digs holes in the yard." "Anything else?" "She runs in circles and rolls in garbage and snores when she is wide awake." "Fine," said the gentleman. "I'll take her." And he did. Felipe was stunned. Who in their right mind would adopt Claudette? "You miss her, don't you?" said Mrs. Barrett. "Certainly not," thought Felipe.
Where's the dog?
She got adopted. He waited for the next adoption day, and he waited, and he waited. Time passed slowly. The animal shelter seemed very quiet. He stared at Claudette's toys and her ball and her empty bowl. "I'm sure she's fine," said Mrs. Barrett. Felipe sighed. Adoption day came. The puppies went. So did the kittens. Felipe hid in the back room. After a while, Mrs. Barrett joined him. She was closing the shelter when the gentleman returned with Claudette. "I am bringing her back," he said. "She is not the dog I thought she was. She doesn't play or chew or run in circles. She doesn't even bark. All she does is mope." Oh, she misses her friend Felipe. As soon as he left, Claudette began to bark. She licked Mrs. Barrett. She chased Felipe around the room. "What will I do with you two?" said Mrs. Barrett. But really, it was obvious. She adopted them. For dinner, she fed them sardines in dainty bowls. Afterward, they played hide and seek. Felipe was happy to be it. The end. Claudette and Felipe, they're best buds. Please subscribe.
This guy.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Night night.
Night night.